Hello, everyone. It's me, your favorite artist and animator, Christopher Williams. Today we're going to be continuing all of the artwork that we did last week. If you remember, we're trying to get or learn how to do or animation and artwork and all those lovely things that we use to create wonderful things like cartoons and anime and video games and all of that. So you'll remember the first day we did what? We did animation and we learned about how movement flows and stretching and all physics, how things interact with their environment, right? And the next lesson was artwork. Why do we even care about artwork? What is the significance of it, right? How to draw pretty pictures and how to get into GIMP. So today we're going to be continuing GIMP and we're going to continue learning how to make, cool stuff in GIMP. We started off with a kitty cat, and we're gonna finish with a kitty cat because cats are awesome. So, as I said, we learned how to do talent versus practicing. It's important to always be practicing, right? You're never going to be 100% good at what you do. So in order to become better, you have to practice, and that is why we're going to be continuing our practice with GIMP so that we can become better and more efficient when it becomes time to get into Spine, right? All right, so we're at my favorite part of the lesson where you get up on your feet, you shake yourself out, and we get ready to sing our favorite song, right? Oh, I wish I were an Oscar Mayer wiener. That is what I truly like to be. For if I were an Oscar Mayer wiener, everyone would be in love with me. All right, that was pretty fun. So, what should we do it as next? Let's see. I think we can probably try and rap. Now, I'm not a very good rapper, so you'll have to forgive me, but let's try rapping this thing, okay? All right. So, I wish I were an Oscar Mayer wiener. Yeah, that is what I truly like to be. Uh, for if I were an Oscar Mayer wiener, everyone would be in love. Be in love with me. Be in love, they'd be in love. Yeah, they'd be in love with me. All right, that was awful. But that was pretty fun. Okay, so what we're going to do this lesson is I am going to take you back to the computer and we are going to get on, start up our computers, start up with GIMP, and we're going to continue our art pieces, okay? So let's pause, and through the magic of editing, we are going to magically get into my room and you'll see your stuff, all right? Boom. All right, and here we are again in my room. Some of you may be wondering what it is that I'm using. I am working on an art tablet on my computer, and so it allows me to do all sorts of cool, amazing art. I use a pen to draw, so that is super cool. And so we are going to bring up Spine. So usually you can find Spine, you can find GIMP either in your on your desktop here, or you press start and you can go down here and you can find it because it's in alphabetical order right there, and it will bring up GIMP. All right, so to bring up an old file that you may have been working on, you go to File, you can open Recent, and this untitled file right here is what we were working on with my little kitty cat, right? So we have our lovely cat right here, and untitled is kind of um, a vague title. So what we will do to rename it whatever you want it to be renamed, you go to File, Save As, and then from there up top here, you can change the name, and we're gonna call it Kitty Cat, right? And click Save. All right, so as you can see, we have what we were doing from the last time, which was drawing our cat. We showed you how to, what all of these were, or paint bucket, or paintbrush, the eraser, smudge, all of that is right here. If you click on it, it will bring up these options of how you want to change maybe the size of your brush. You can change the spacing between strokes. You can change the hardness of the brush strokes itself. Also, you can tinker with it, all based on your art style, right? So for now, we will just leave this how it is because we're just gonna be working on our cat, right? So I also showed you on the right-hand side, you can see that we have a group, and the group allows you to place all of your assets in one area. So if you can turn off all of this stuff at the same time, you notice if I do that, the entire face disappears, right? Or you can turn them off individually, like that. So group allows you to have multiple things in one area. So we are going to do that for, let's see here. We'll leave it for now. Now, one of the cool things that you can do with the group layer and why it's important to have it, you can create a new group. And remember, you do that by going down here, right? Clicking group and a new group appears, right? So you can drag all the stuff in here. And now if you just click it once, everything around that will disappear, right? Also, another cool thing with groups, you can create another group, right? Let's see. And you can have that group inside another group. So now let's put this group in here. And now you can turn off the entire thing at once. Groups are pretty cool in organizing what you want to do. So as you can see, if we press the plus sign, it'll expand all of this. You have one group right here that you can, let's see, that we can put in. So you can have that group there, and you can have this other group all in one group. And so now if I wanted to, because we need to organize our stuff, right? Remember, if we want to rename it, you can double click on the group name, and then we can rename it whatever we want. So we're going to call this group head, since it's the head of our cat, right? So it is now head. So all the head contains, let's call this, or face. So we'll rename this face. Oop, face number, yeah, face number. You'll notice that it says face number 1 because we already also have another layer called face. And we will call this, let's call this phase 2 for now, right? Okay, so if you make an error, you can just double click it again and allows you to do that, and you just press enter. All right, so you'd be wondering, okay, well, it's really good for organizing, but I mean, why do I care if I have all that group in one, all my layers in one group? Well, look at this. This is a cool thing that you can do. You can move, let's see here. You can move, oh, let's undo that. You can, let's see, move all of your groups in one. You can also lower the opacity of an entire group if you wanted to. So see here, you can lower all of the opacity if you wanted to, instead of having to click individual layers. You can just do it to the group. And if I wanted to change the mode of the colors, I can do that also to the entire group instead of just doing it to each, having to do it to each individual layer. So it really saves you a lot of time when you start getting into more complex pieces of artwork, right? All right, so let's see here. I would like to move the active layer. Is what is? Okay, awesome. All right, so we learn through our mistakes, right? So in GIMP, if you wanted to move the entire layer, you click move, as you can see right here, and then you go to move the active layer. And because the group is now the active layer, you can just click it and move it around. So instead of moving, let's see, if we just had one, right? It would only move the one layer. But we want to move the entire layer. Let's undo this, undo move. We want to move the entire layer, so you click on the group and now you can move everything at once. So that saves you a lot of time and a lot of effort. Believe me, you'll probably be doing a lot of this as you become better artists. Now, let's see. You can also, um, let's see here. If I wanted to rotate it, you can, as you said, click this, you hold it down, and it allows you to select all of these. So if we wanted to make it bigger, you would click scale, and scale allows you to make it bigger or smaller, right? Super cool. If I wanted to rotate it, then you just click rotate. Uh-oh. Wait a sec, and now you can rotate as you please, right? Let's undo that and undo the scale. Now, if I wanted to flip, you just click flip, and now when you click it, it flips it. You'll notice that the axis for it will move everything along that axis, which the axis is right here in the center. So when you click flip, it flips it along that axis. You'll have to reposition your drawing to where you want if you want it to flip a certain way. But for now, that is flip. And as I said, there's so many different other things that you can use. when you want to change everything at once. So you have the perspective, you have 3D transform, you have handle transform, all of these. You can play around in your own time and you can see all the cool stuff that you can do, right? So for now, let's leave this scale because that's what I would more want to tinker with. But we also want to just kind of move this a little bit over here, right? Okay, so this is our head layer. A cat needs a body and it needs a whole lot more things, right? So that is what we're going to draw. I am going to draw the body and the legs of our cat, right? So let's go to brush. I like my black brush. Let's always create a new layer. So let us create a new layer down here. Let's call this one body because it's the body of our cat. And you press OK, right? So now, if you end up like with this, where it accidentally ends up inside of the group, to get it out of the group, all you have to do is drag it outside of the box, right? So you see that, okay, if it's here, it'll be placed inside of the box. If you want the position to change, you can change it here, but we don't want any of that. We want it outside, so we put it outside of the box. And now our body exists outside of the box, right? So let us draw. All right. Let's make a short cat. So let's go. We want him. Uh-oh. We want him like so. Just a simple cat body. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yep. Let's see. That feels good, right? Doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to get done. So this is our cat body right here. All right, now remember to add a new layer for colors. So let's add a new layer and let's call this one just, I guess, color. All right. And as it said, if you have two layers of the same name, notice that it changes it to color number one. We also want to make sure that the color is underneath our line art, right? So we drag it and drag it below body. And now when we color, let's increase the size since we're coloring. Oh, now it is below the layer. All right, we also want to make sure, you notice how if you look at it, it's very fuzzy. Oh, uh-oh. Let's undo, nope. Let us zoom out because that's not what we want to do. So let's drag to where we want to zoom into, right? You'll notice that it looks very fuzzy. And that's because we have our hardness at the midway point. So just drag that to 100 and now you'll notice that it's a lot more clear, right? It's a lot sharper. It's not super fuzzy. All right, so let's color that way. And we're coloring and we're coloring. Again, don't worry about it needing to be perfect because art doesn't have to be perfect. All right. We're coloring, coloring. Okay, cool. There we go. So remember also, let's turn it off so that we can see, but you notice that it is covering the layer, the line art for the other layer. And remember, why is that? Because or layer is above that. So we're going to move the head layer and just move it up here so that now, as you can see, it is above the body. All right, so we are going to zoom out a bit. Let's go. Zoom out, zoom. Uh-oh, that's too much again. Yeah, there we go. That feels better. All right, so our cat has a body. And our cat is a little special. So let's give our cat a few stripes, right? Because stripes are fun. So let's go here. And give our kitty cat a few stripes because stripes are fun. Okay. Now our cat looks a little bit more like a tiger. Ain't that pretty? All right. So there we go. Yeah. Uh, I feel that's kind of one stripe too many, right? So the cool thing is if you make wrong strokes or a stroke that you don't like, you can either erase it or you can go to edit and you can undo paintbrush and undo, let's see, undo, undo. And as you can see, it undoes the last strokes that you made. So you can do it this way, or if you notice, it also says Control Z. Now, as a digital artist, Control Z is going to be your best friend, believe me. So let's Control Z, and there we go. All right. So now we have just the right amount of stripes that we want, right? All right, so we have our head, we have our body, but how is this cat gonna move around? This cat needs some legs, right? So I am going to put our body, and we'll rename this layer body, and I'm gonna put our layers there, and I am going to create a new layer, and we will call this, we'll call this, uh, foreground legs because we want our legs to be in the foreground, right? So foreground legs, boom. All right, so we'll make these the top legs as well. And these specific legs need to be seen. So we're going to put that layer above the body layer. All right, and just so that we can see a little easier, we're going to turn the opacity of the body down. So we can still see it, but it won't disrupt our legs so much. All right, so we want legs. So here we go. All right, legs. Let's, yeah, our cat has like kind of stumpy. We'll give him stumpy legs. Do, 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 do. Or stumpy leg kitty cat. All right, and boop, and boop. Okay, so our cat has stumpy legs, and we're gonna create another layer for our color. That's a group. So another layer, and that is color, and orange, and let's change the size. And let's color that in. Oop. Let's color this in. Color this in. All right, and let's erase a little bit of that. Now put that below so that we can actually, there we go. Cool. Oh, uh-oh, undo. All right, so that's one leg. Now, we could draw a bunch more legs for the others, but here is another cool trick that you can do. If in this case where we don't necessarily want to draw all these legs over and over again, what we can do is instead you can click and we can create a duplicate. So, oh, did you see that? Did you see that? What we did was we had this selected and we went down here, see on the right hand side, and you'll see it says duplicate the layer that we have right here. So we can click that again and it will duplicate it. Now, you won't see anything right here, and why is that? Because it created an exact duplicate of that layer, and the layer is right underneath it. So what you need to do is click move, right? And now you can move it. See? Isn't that super cool? All right, because this leg is in the, we want to make this the background leg. Let's rename it background leg. We want to make it slightly smaller because it's in the background, right? So how do we do that again? You click here and you click scale, or you can just click it because scale is already there. And all you have to do now is just slightly adjust it and click scale. All right, now it's slightly smaller. Now just move this into the position that we want, right here. Yeah, that seems reasonable, right? And if we wanted to, for now, we have an extra layer that we don't necessarily want. We can click, you can either click down here to delete this layer, or you can right click and you will see that it gives you all these options. So you can also duplicate and you can also delete the layer here. So I'm showing you all these different methods. I mean, it's all pretty much the same thing, but whatever feels most comfortable for you, this is why I'm showing you all the different ways that you can do the same action, right? So I want to delete this layer because I don't need it. So it's deleted, right? All right. So this though, this looks a little messy. So we can change the opacity back to 100. And yeah, that looks a little off. So why is that? Because the layer is over here. So what we want to do is move our background legs to below the body layer, right? And so now, as you can see, it is now in the background, which looks a lot more normal. All right. Also, in order to be able to see this a little easier, what if I want to make it a little darker? Because I'm like, I want to be able to see this one a little easier. Now, what you can do is go to image, and you can go to color management, and let's see here. You can go to assign color profile, and it's already in RGB. All right, so let's go to image, and let's see, transform mode, convert, assign color profile. We'll leave this alone for now. For now, we need to continue because our cat needs some hind legs, right? All right, so we're going to do the same thing we've been doing, which is now creating a background or hind legs for a cat. All right, so layer again, and let's name this hind foreground legs. Boom. Okay, we can switch this over again, and now we are going to create, let's change the size back to what we were using of 10. And now we're going to give our cat, let's move this up to above the body, right? So now we can draw above. Boom. Okay. And give our cat some hind legs. There we go. Giving our cat some hind legs so it can walk properly. All right, so let's lower the opacity again so we can see a little more clearly. Let's add another layer, and let's just call this color again. Again, you can name the layer anything that you really want. It doesn't matter so much. All right, and let's increase that size. Let's color in. Again, when you're coloring, doesn't have to be super perfect. It's all good. Okay. There we go. And let's put that below. All right, so make sure that you're always selecting the right layer. You don't want to accidentally mess up on the wrong layer. So we're doing that, and we're giving our cat some hind leg toes because cats need toes in order to walk properly. All right, so we're going to do the same thing of putting them in a group, right? Let's put this in a group, put it here, and renaming it hind hind legs, right? Boom. And because we want background legs, we're going to duplicate, which duplicate is right down here. Boom, duplicate. And now we're going to scale, right? Scale and scale or layer right here and scale. And then move it into position. Super easy, right? Let's see, here or here. I think it looks better here. All right, so again, you want to make sure that you're moving it into the correct position. And so we will move it below the body. And yeah, we'll keep it above this leg right here. Okay, so now we can, oh, excuse me. Wow, that was terrible. We can adjust, as you can see, our body. So what else does a cat need? What? Okay, we have all of this. We have all of this. Something is missing. We need a tail because cats need tails, right? All right, so we're going to give our cat a tail. So what do we do? Gonna create another layer and we'll call this tail. Press OK. If it's inside, don't worry about that. Just drag it out. And we're gonna draw a tail. So tail. How do we want our tail to look? I kind of like that shape. So let's go Let's undo that. Let's lower this back to 10. And we're gonna give our cat a tail, right? Give our cat a big tail. All right. Okay. Yeah, that looks like a pretty good tail, right? Okay. So we need to add our color. So tail, let's just leave this as tail color. Press OK. And now let's increase the size a bit. Now we can color in, or let's move this here so we can do it from here. And because it's narrower than normal, we can just zoom in a little bit. So there we go. All right. So, see, this is why you always remember to know which layer you have active, because if I turn this off, we've messed up our art piece. But that's okay, because you can always, what do you do when you make a mistake here? You press Control Z, and all that quickly undoes that. So let's do this over. Let's make sure that we click on the right layer and we color it in. So see, yeah, coloring, it's super fun, because who doesn't like coloring? You don't have to get it perfectly in the line, because I mean, it's your art piece. You can do whatever you want with your own art piece. You don't have to worry about it being perfect, because nobody is perfect. And all you have to do is make sure that you are happy with what you are doing. You don't have to care about what other people are doing. Just make sure that you're doing it for yourself and that you are happy, right? So we turned off this layer so that I could see a little better, right? And as I say, you make sure that you're touching the eye and not the inside, so that it accidentally selects that layer, because you don't want to be drawing in the wrong layer, right? So we go back to make sure that this is highlighted and we have this turned off, and I can erase some of that because that looks terrible. I don't like that very much. And we can tinker, because we gave our cat some stripes on their body. We're going to give tail a few stripes of its own, right? Because stripes are cool, and I like my stripes. All right, so let's add a few stripes. Few stripes. Do, 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 do. Okay, let's giving the cat a stripes. Giving the cat a stripe, because stripes are fun. Do, 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 do. All right, so here we go. Um, yeah, yeah, I like it. Okay, so that is complete. So that's our tail. And if you want to turn on and off the color, it's perfectly fine. All right, so let's see here. There it is. Okay, so we are going to zoom out so that we can see our wonderful art piece, right? Just click it once and zoom out, boom. All right, there is our kitty cat. So we want to make this a group again. Let's make this group tail. And so boom, we want to drag this here and we want to drag that there. And for this purpose, let's put the tail layer below the body layer so that that looks a little more conformed, right? All right, so we drew our little kitty cat. All right, so if I wanted to make an adjustment, because I'm like the hind legs, I want it to be a little darker. How do we change that so that we can more easily identify that it is the back legs? We go to hind, we go to color, you select the layer that you want. So we want to adjust the color for here, right? Which, as you can see, it's our hind legs right here. You want to adjust that. So you go to colors, right? And now you can change the temperature, you can change the hue, the saturation, which is the saturation is how colorful something versus how gray it looks. Hue is changing the type of color from orange to blue to green to red. You can change the brightness, how bright or how dark it looks. So for this, because we want to do a shadow, basically, we're going to adjust it with brightness. So now if you see your brightness here, let's see, yeah, we have preview turned on. And so you notice if you lower the brightness, it gets darker, right? Because that's what brightness is, how much light something has, right? So we're going to just adjust that a little bit, just enough so that you can notice. You don't really have to change the contrast unless you want to. Just adjust it to what you feel comfortable with. So, right, I'll leave it this at 0 for the most part and just change the brightness. So we'll have our brightness set here and we click OK. And now it's a little bit darker so you can tell the difference. And we want to do that to the front legs as well. So you go back to colors, go back to brightness, and you can change the brightness there, right? Super easy. So instead of you necessarily having to recolor the whole thing, you just make adjustments like that. Super easy. If you wanted to change the color of the body because you're like, I don't really like this orange very much, what you can do, you can go back to colors, make sure that you have the right layer selected, right? Go to colors, and now you can change the hue, right? And look what happens when you change the hue. If you slide it up, then the colors of the cat changes. Isn't that crazy? That is what hue does. All right, so if we wanted a blue cat, we could have that. And then if we wanted to change the lightness or make it lighter or darker, then you can slide it to do that, right? So make it lighter or darker. If we wanted to change the saturation, which as we said is how brightly colored something is, you just slide that up or make it more gray and take out the color and wash out the color until there's no color there at all and it's just a weird gray cat. All right, so we don't I don't want to change my cat because I do like the color quite a bit. So we're going to, instead of pressing OK, we're going to press cancel. And so now it just goes back to what it was before. So as you can see, we drew our pretty cat. I showed you how to do all these different layers and the importance of having them in different groups because, okay, for the next lesson, we're going to start actually going into spine. And it's important from now to keep all of your layers organized, right? So we went over how to create layers and groups, why we want to do that. we drew ourselves a pretty little kitty cat. I showed you how to adjust and delete layers, how to duplicate layers. I showed you how to change the colors of something, how to change the image of them, how to adjust an image um, through scaling, through rotating it, how to flip it, how to do all those fun things that we can do in GIMP. So we are one step closer to getting into animation. So I wanted to keep this drawing as simple as possible because, as we know, sometimes life can get really complicated and it can feel very overwhelming when you have something super complex, right? So it's sometimes important to make sure that you keep the things around you as simple as possible. And it's okay to step back and to take a breather and to kind of unwind and unload because life can get super stressful sometimes, believe me. I know how stressful life can get. But the important thing is that you have life. And having life, if there's a will, there's a way. And as long as you're alive, there is hope. And I want you to make sure that you keep the hope alive within yourself because you matter. No matter what anyone tells you, you matter. And we can create the wonderful art and we can create wonderful animation and you can do all the wonderful things you want to do because your voice matters and your story matters. And so I hope one day I get to see all the cool stuff that you make. All right? So, next lesson, I am going to make this pretty kitty cat walk. Wouldn't that be fun? All right. Make sure you take care of yourself, and I will see you next week. Take care.